Why do we snack? Because we have nothing better to do? Well, people who snack on almonds have something better to do. Almonds are heart healthy and full of energy, with the crunch that keeps you in the game. California almonds. Crunch on.
This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNradio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hey, it's Golic. Thanks for checking out the Best of Mike and Mike's podcast. Here's what we have for today. Some great guests. Justin Tuck, Mark Schlereth, Arian Foster, Charles Woodson, Darius Rucker. We break down the Super Bowl and ask a very, very important question.
Mike and Mike.
The big fella was at a concert last night, so you were rocking out?
Had a ball last night. We were actually out right across from the stadium in Glendale and saw Sam Hunt, Thomas Rhett, and Zach Brown. Had not seen Zach Brown in concert, and it was all three were just fantastic. What a great night out there. Tons of people. It was a lot of fun. You know me, a big country music guy, so thoroughly enjoyed that. Zach Brown and Thomas Rhett, really just fantastic. And we have, you mentioned, we have Darius on, going to see him. He's playing tonight as well. So a lot of fun here, getting ready for football. We're talking about football, but going to enjoy the sights and the sounds as well.
Coming up this morning on the menu, Sophie's Choice, the impossible decision.
Yep.
That could be facing one of the best players in Super Bowl 49. We will delve into the deal. How do you answer the unanswerable question? Kyrie Irving goes nuts with the double nickel last night. Pete Carroll, to me, proves the oldest rule in comedy. It's all about timing, and I will explain, but of course we'll start with Beast Mode once again, who's not even allowed to call himself Beast Mode, because now the conversation about Marshawn Lynch is whether he's going to get fined for wearing the Beast Mode hat, which of course he is. You can't wear a hat that is not NFL approved.
No, you can't.
At Super Bowl media day, or frankly at any other sanctioned Super Bowl event. Someone like Brian Urlacher, who was with us the other day, whose reputation could not have been more different from Marshawn's, once got fined $100,000 for wearing a vitamin water hat on media day. So yes, Marshawn Lynch is going to get fined for that. Is he going to get fined for the behavior? I did 20 interviews on Radio Row yesterday. Every one of them started with Marshawn Lynch.
Well, it's interesting. When you were out, we were talking. That's the first day last week before we got here was when the first prop bets came out, and one of the first ones was, will Marshawn Lynch get fined on media day? And most were thinking it would be for not showing up or not staying long enough, that kind of situation, to which we all basically said, no, we think he's going to fulfill his obligation, because that's a hefty fine of $500,000, and that's what they were going to fine him if he didn't show up for media day, $500,000. But now, as it turns out, anybody who bet he may get fined for media day, I would imagine they're going to win that if they put a bet on it, because he wore his Beast Mode hat. Again, he could say Beast Mode all he wants talking, but we know he doesn't talk. But you can't push product, but with the hat, or whether it's a bottle of something, and that's exactly what he did, and he's going to get fined for it.
So then let me ask you this, because there's a better prop bet for you.
Okay.
It came up yesterday in one of the conversations I was having. Is Marshawn Lynch, if he wins MVP of the Super Bowl, which I am predicting he will, my prediction...
You want it just for the fun, and he has the ability to win it.
I think he's the best player on the field. So to me, I'm not picking a colossal upset.
It's not a reach.
I think Seattle's way of winning the Super Bowl is for their defense to be their defense, for their offense not to make a lot. Why would you throw the ball anywhere near Revis and Browner? Run that pistol, run it like crazy, try and get that thing going and get Marshawn Lynch going beast mode and win a hard-fought, somewhat decisive, low-scoring game, which is what I am expecting to happen on Super Bowl Sunday. But if Marshawn Lynch is the MVP of the Super Bowl, is he going to Disney World? I mean, are we doing all of that? That is the traditional Super Bowl MVP route. You and I always stick around on Tuesday after the Super Bowl to interview whoever it is that won the MVP, and it's Aaron Rodgers, it's whoever it is. And can you imagine? Is that what we're waiting for now? Is Marshawn Lynch going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl? And if he does, will people not vote for him for MVP because of all of this? And if he is the MVP, is he going to go do all the traditional MVP stuff?
Not making any friends in the media. Will they hold it against him in this voting? And we'll get into future voting at some point as well. So for the MVP, but I mean, listen, if he deserves it and somebody and whoever is voting doesn't vote for him because they don't like the way he acts, then shame on them. You know, it's an MVP award about what's going on the field. And as far as the old going to Disney World, they do it with a few people. It's interesting. We kind of find out the process of how that goes, and they have it ready for a few people because you don't know, obviously, who is going to be the MVP. But they've done this before. Listen, it's happened. We had the guy sitting on stage yesterday with Ray Lewis. You know, Ray Lewis didn't go. Trent Dilfer went in his place. So they can do that. It's been done before. So I guess they'll make
Marshawn Lynch wins MVP and Russell Wilson is going to Disney World.
It very well could be. But, you know, the next morning you have the big presser, too, for the MVP. Hey, good luck.
And he's just there not to get fined.
That's exactly right.
Wearing a beast mode hat.
Could you imagine a whole MVP Super Bowl? I mean, we're jumping so far ahead, but, hey, it's juicy. Why not?
And I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for all of it. Here's the thing. This whole thing has come all the way around. Now, I've made this as clear as I can possibly make it, okay? And part of it is because I spend much of my time watching youth sports.
Right.
I follow around my 12-year-old son who plays basketball all the time. And these kids emulate what they see from the stars.
Yes.
You see more so, in my case, it's basketball. But you see more of them emulating what you see the NBA stars doing, putting up that three and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I told Stevie that if he does that, I'm telling his coach, take him out of the game.
Right.
Because you don't do that when you're 12. Carmelo Anthony wants to do it. Carmelo Anthony's a grown-up. He can do what he wants.
Right.
12-year-old kids shouldn't be doing that. And I don't care if other kids are doing it. My kid's not doing it.
I'm with you.
And so if other kids, I mean, I shudder to think that there are going to be kids playing pee-wee football who are going to be grabbing themselves going into the end zone. So that's the one thing about Marshawn Lynch that really bothers me. Beyond that, I have now gone all the way around to being sympathetic to Marshawn Lynch.
Here you go again, dude.
I'm on his side.
Yeah, the waffler. That's what I was
getting. Get me a beast mode hat.
The
Ray, I want a beast mode hat. I'm wearing it.
They're sold out. He wore it at his podium. They're sold out of his hat.
They'll replenish it. They'll get more. Are you kidding? They're businessmen. They're not idiots. I want $39 right now. I'm putting it down. I want a beast mode hat, and I will wear it on the end.
33.
33? I'm paying. In fact, beast mode hats for everybody. I want the whole staff in beast mode hats tomorrow.
Do you hear that, everybody out here? You're getting beast mode hats.
No, those people aren't getting beast mode hats.
Oh, I thought you said for everybody.
I didn't even see them. They snuck up on me this morning. How are you, everybody? But seriously, I am now a member of the beast mode army.
Wait. Tell me you used the word sympathetic. Sympathetic?
Yes.
Everything he's doing himself. He's knowingly doing it.
You're right. And you know what? No one does that. There are no self-promoters in sports and in the world anymore.
Whoa. I didn't say that. I don't care if he does that. But sympathetic? Sympathetic to Marshawn Lynch.
Yes.
You may be the only one in America, and you would be completely wrong to use the word sympathetic in the case of Marshawn Lynch.
And I stand alone.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like him, and I feel like,
as you normally do.
I feel like they're giving him an unnecessary hard time. Everyone is putting him through a pointless exercise.
Who's giving him an unnecessary hard time?
The NFL.
Why? Because they have rules and he's not following them?
Right.
And if he doesn't follow them, they should change it. Oh, you know what? Marshawn doesn't want to do this. Oh, Marshawn, you don't have to do this. And, hey, do you want a back rub along the way? I'm doing my Mark Schlereth right now.
If someone would give him a back rub, I think it would be delightful.
Marshawn doesn't want to follow our rules, so let's let him do it. Marshawn, wear whatever hat you want. Don't talk. In fact, don't even show up to the podium. Just go wear it out away from the podium. Do whatever you want, Marshawn, because we feel sympathetic for you. Shut up.
See, you finally figured it all out.
Geez.
So I want a beast mode hat, if possible, for tomorrow, and I will wear it.
I'd wear it, too. I'm
not wearing it. You know what I'm doing? I'm rocking it. I'm rocking a beast mode hat tomorrow in honor of my man Marshawn Lynch, who I'm rooting for to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. We are Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. They'll compare rates for you so you get the best deal, even if it's not with Progressive, saving you time and money. Now, that's Progressive. Call or click today. Here's what Marshawn Lynch decided yesterday's line was going to be. Here was Lynch yesterday.
So ain't nothing changed from yesterday. Still the same person I was yesterday. And I got the same thing for you that I had yesterday.
Marshawn, are you concerned about getting fined for your hat?
You know why I'm here.
I mean, listen, the one thing I'll say, he tells you.
He's got great consistency.
He absolutely lets you know what the answers are going to be. So, you know what, then and this is where I separate former player from journalist. This is when I put it on you guys. All you guys still sit around him and ask him all his questions.
I'm not asking him anything.
Well, you're kind.
I just want
you're journalistic kind.
Just leave him alone and let him play, for crying out loud.
Listen, I agree with that, but that's not the NFL. That's your kind.
It's not my kind.
Yes, it is.
The NFL is making him sit there. My kind isn't.
It is. It's
the journalists
kind.
can't make him sit there. The NFL is making him sit there.
And it's absolutely you people that just sit around him and keep asking him questions when you know you're not getting any answer from him.
But the point is, he is sitting there not because the journalists have the ability to make him sit there. The league is making him sit there.
It's on reporters now. That's my tech. You want to be sympathetic to him? To me, it's on the reporters.
What,
now.
Are the reporters the reason he's sitting there?
No. It's the reporters that this keeps going on. You know what? Don't go anywhere near him. And then we won't be talking about any of this. He can sit there by himself because he has to for his 5 or 10 minutes. We don't get the ridiculous answer that we want to get from him, and we all go on with our lives. But you and your reporter group want to go sit around and be that guy that gets that answer or just, keep feeding the beast. Those guys after they get to play that spoon in their mouth, feed them. That's all the reporters are doing. You might as well just walk up to him and make that sign to him because that's what's going on.
If I walked up to him, I'd go over and I'd just give him a big hug. I want to give Marshawn Lynch a hug.
I'm so sympathetic to you right now.
I hope
you're going to be okay.
I like him. There's something about Marshawn Lynch I have grown to like through all of this.
I didn't like him not at all, but I'm certainly in no way, shape, or form sympathetic to him.
One way or another. So then Pete Carroll, his coach, was talking about him and talking about the individuality and everything else. Here's Carroll on Beast Mode.
You're seeing a demonstration of a guy being himself and not being what everybody wants him to be. And that is why you will continue to hear our players support him. He's trying to do the best job he can of being him. Maybe you don't feel that that's what he should do, but that is what's going on. And in that sense, he's being true to himself. And we understand that. I understand that people would like to see him do different things, like to him in other ways. He's not comfortable with that. So that's what he's telling you. And he's doing it exactly the way he knows how to do it best. So that conversation about supporting the person that he is, we talk about all the time. That is a mainstay of our conversation, going along with what it's all about, which is being a team member. And he's an incredible team member. This environment just isn't one that you get to see him in the way you want to see him. You're seeing him as he is. And in that regard, it is what it is.
I tell you what, in those 30 seconds or whatever it is, Pete Carroll just explained to you why he's a great football coach. Because, in my opinion, Tom Coughlin, and when Justin Tuck is going to be here, his time got changed, so he'll be here in about 20 minutes. And we'll talk with Justin about this. Tom Coughlin is a great football coach.
Yes, he is.
Tom Coughlin would not be the right football coach for this group. People have been asking me for 20 years since I covered him why Phil Jackson was the success that he is. What made Phil Jackson great? It wasn't the triangle.
Right.
Phil Jackson doesn't know any more X's and O's than any other coach out there.
Dealing with the players.
It's the right blend.
Yeah.
So he was the right person for that. Joe Torre is another perfect example. Joe Torre was a career sub-500 manager before he got to the Yankees. And people will say, well, he had all this talent with the Yankees. You know what? When they were winning their championships at the beginning, they weren't buying talent. He was the right person at the right time for that group. And I think that's what Pete Carroll is with this group of individuals, with Sherman and with Lynch and all of them. He is the perfect personality for that
I
group.
agree with that. Now, Tom Coughlin did kind of reshape his leadership with the Giants, something we can talk about Justin Tuck with.
But I don't think he would deal real well with Lynch.
But to your point, you're right. Pete Carroll has always said, he lets these guys be individuals. He lets them do their thing. And his comments there about Marshawn Lynch, again, we're having our fun. You're saying you're sympathetic and support everything, and I'm saying, this and that. I don't care if he sits down and says the one line. Don't get me wrong. Am I a fan of it? Do you want him to say more? Sure, you probably do. But him doing it, I don't care. I honestly don't. He can say whatever he wants. But that is a reason I think they're successful. They have very talented people, and give the GM John Schneider a lot of credit as well. Because, remember, a lot of this talent isn't first-round talent. And now they're all of a sudden going to get paid like it in their deals, like Earl Thomas, though he was. Richard Sherman was not, got taken care of as well. Russell Wilson, the third rounder, is going to get taken care of. So kudos to the personnel department and the GM for getting these players that weren't all first-round draft picks and getting to play this way. And their coach, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a total buy-in from team to coach and coach to team.
I'll say something else, too, about Schneider and if you look at from the New England side of it as well. I mean, here we have the biggest game of the year, the two best teams. They're the 2-1 seeds. I think everyone acknowledges they're the two best teams, so there's no fluke.
Right.
Look where the quarterbacks were drafted. Look
exactly
where
right.
Wilson was drafted. Look where Brady was drafted. And they're both great players. It's not like they've sort of rode the coattails.
Right.
Yes, Wilson has a great defense, but Wilson's a terrific player and a huge part of the reason why they're here and on the verge, if not already, of being an elite quarterback. Brady obviously is one of the greats of all time. So it shows you what an inexact science the selection of players is.
Well, and a little bit of a difference there. Russell Wilson had the opportunity to win the job right away, and he did.
Right.
Tom Brady did not. Tom Brady's was the classic, you're a sixth rounder, not a whole lot is expected of you. Uh-oh, there's an injury, now you get your chance. That's the road for a lot of guys less traveled. They aren't one of those high draft picks. He gets his chance, and, we obviously saw the result.
Well, I mean, you use a name that may not be one that many sports fans anymore know, but you and I grew up with it. The name is Wally Pipp, who was it was a terrific first baseman. If the Yankees got hurt one day, a guy no one had ever heard of, well, people had heard of him, but whatever, a guy named Lou Gehrig stepped in.
That was it.
2,000 games later, he stepped out.
Yeah, guess who you weren't hearing about anymore after that?
Was Wally Pipp. And look, he was playing behind Drew Bledsoe, who was the number one pick in the draft.
Right.
So he was playing behind an established star quarterback.
There was that was the ranking there was right. That's why Drew was playing, and he had a 6th-round pick. Russell Wilson went right into a quarterback competition, which he obviously fairly won.
So one way or another, the two quarterbacks in this game were not did not get here by these are not the Mannings.
They weren't lauded. That's exactly right.
They didn't win Heisman's. They weren't first-round.
They weren't hugged by the commissioner on draft day because the commissioner was long gone by the time they were picked.
Their names were announced by people who won a contest.
That's exactly right.
Pick the 9th name out of a hat. You get to announce the 6th-round pick of the Patriots, Thomas Brady from Michigan. All right, speaking of beast mode, again, I want my hat. Marshawn Lynch, is all of this going to cost him in the long run, beyond money? Our Chris Carter, the Hall of Famer, and that's significant here, was having that conversation yesterday on ESPN.
What is Marshawn Lynch's legacy? Because I believe right now, currently in the National Football League, he's the only running back that's capable of being a Hall of Famer. So is this the type of thing that prevents him from being a Hall of Famer? Because look at the running backs. This generation, they've devalued the running backs. He's the best running back in the game, and he's not going to get credit for that because of he's not media savvy or because of this right here. I don't want him to be known for this. So I just wish that there was some median in between what we're seeing and something else.
Now, let me ask you a question, Mike. I appreciate and understand what CC is saying, and I think that he is largely right. Throughout history, guys have had this kind of stuff held back or held against them, Eddie Murray and others in baseball, for not being media-friendly when it comes to things like Hall of Fame. But as far as building a brand, you've got the heroes, and they're easy to identify, right? Russell Wilson is the clean-cut, unbelievably great image and all that kind of stuff, and Brady. And then you've got, like, the anti-heroes.
You got the villain.
Yeah, and it's not even so much a villain. It's just sort of he's anti-establishment. He's not going to let people tell him what to do. Forever we've had guys like that who have been looked up to by so many. I think that Marshawn Lynch, in his own way, is developing his own – he could become just as big as anybody else based on being like the one guy who doesn't, like Dennis Rodman was in his day. In a different way. Obviously, their approach is totally different, but in his way. I mean, what is Lynch? He's not hurting anybody. I mean, he's being a little antisocial. He's flaunting the authority of the establishment, all that kind of stuff. He's not doing anything criminal or anything like that.
Not at all.
So my point is that I think in some ways, I think he's going to develop, he's going to come out of this thing as popular as anybody, because there are a lot of people in this country who like that, who like flaunting their, sticking the middle finger up at authority and stuff like that. I don't think he's diminishing his brand. I think he's actually embellishing his brand.
Listen, his hat sold out. They're restocking that. It's going to sell more. He's been in commercials right now. Listen, and more power to him. He can do whatever he wants. Do I think he's gone from uncomfortable in front of the media to playing the media and using this to benefit himself? Absolutely. But are we supposed to look on that as wrong? Taking advantage of a situation and using it for your gain. You may not like it. I don't like everything he does, but that he's not singular to that. There are things we don't like other players that do, but we can't all have them how we want them. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of everything he does, but he has a right to do it. And you know what? He has absolutely a right to profit off of it. And we can all yell and scream and read the emails and tweets of how they can't stand him and this and that and, not doing what he's supposed to do. And that's fine if you want to say that. But he's doing what he wants to do. He's not hurting anybody at all. The rules he's breaking our NFL rules, and he'll pay the fines for that, and that's the way it is. So however you want to look at that. And then everybody wants to look at, well, how does it affect kids out there? And the only thing I say, I'm with you, on the ridiculous crotch grab going to the end zone. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and I can't stand it.
Yeah, that he's got to stop doing.
But other than that, I mean, I could care less. I could care. But he's clearly taking advantage. The first, initially it was leave the guy. He had the tough experience in college. He's uncomfortable in front of the media. And I'm not saying he's Mr. Comfortable now and just faking it. I still don't think he's all that comfortable. But it's gone from just leave him alone to now where he has taken it and his marketing team or whoever has used it to his benefit. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But as I said earlier, I think he and his group, they're now playing it all to his advantage.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Let's talk about the game. Justin, you have as a member of that Giants defense, defeating Tom Brady and the Patriots not once but twice in the Super Bowl, including the year they were 18-0 and they were just steamrolling everybody. So as you look at this terrific Seattle defense and what it does well, how do you view that matchup, this Seattle defense against the New England offense? Maybe most specifically, where do you see New England being able to take advantage? Where do they have edges in this matchup, if anywhere?
I think just starting with what Seattle needs to do, the way you beat Brady is pressure him with front four. When you have to blitz him and you have to, and that's with just about any elite quarterback, when you have to blitz him and the things that they do pre-snap to figure out what you're in. Once they kind of dummy you in and showing your look, if you're not rolling out of that, then that's a first down or a big play or whatever it may be. So the reason why we was able to have success against him is because our front four dominated the football game. Seattle's front four has to dominate the football game. I know the Legion of Boom is getting all the pub and rightfully so, but the game I think is going to be won up front, like it always is. And that up front is going to allow them to do the things they need to do in the back end. New England, they got to be New England. They got to run the football. They got to mix it up. They can't become one-dimensional. I thought we was able to do that to them, stop their run, and make Brady have to beat us, which kind of played in our hands to let us pin our ears back and get after him up front. I think it's going to be a close football game. I don't see Seattle turning the football over like they did against Green Bay. I think Russell Wilson is going to make plays with his feet, but Belichick. There's something about that guy, man. There's something about him and Brady. They find ways to win football games in a lot of different ways. They're going to have their set way to try to beat Seattle, and Seattle's going to have to adjust to that.
That's where I want to go next. And by the way, normally you say close games. Super Bowls are usually close games when the Patriots are involved. There's no doubt about that. So on that, people doing Radio Row talking about the game to everybody, and a lot of people say, oh, should they get a heavy dose of LeGarrette Blount? And I said, listen, I can sit here and say, yeah, it'd be nice to run LeGarrette Blount, get a good running game. No offense would turn down a good running game. But would we be shocked if the first 20 plays of the game, the Patriots pass the ball? So my point is, when you prepare for them and then you get in the game, as Seattle will, was there a point where we're like, okay, didn't see that.
Yeah.
Didn't see that one coming.
And that's the thing about the Patriots. Like I said, that's why I give them so much credit, because Tom Brady just seems to find ways, regardless of who's there, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't go back and name him having this Hall of Fame wideout other than Randy Moss. Other than him, you can't. It doesn't matter. It just seems like if they plug a guy in, he's going to be successful in that offense because they find a way to get the ball to everybody. And they're going to have, like you said, it's been games I watched New England play. They got out in 13 personnel and ran the football 20 straight times. Yep. And then I've seen them go empty and pass the ball 20 straight times, run 8 screen plays in a row, stuff like that is unconventional, but they found a way to make it work.
13 personnel is one back.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't.
I'm familiar with it. I'm being told that we've been having some technical difficulties on TV. I would like to welcome everyone rejoining us on ESPN2 now. We were told that we were having some technical problems, and we apologize for that. Glad that you are back with us. Justin Tuck is with us this morning, and he's with us on behalf of Subway, which has been a partner of ours at Mike and Mike now for years. And you're over there in the Subway Fresh Take Green Room, and they take care of all of our guests all week long, which is great. And they've been supplying breakfast for us all morning long.
Fantastic.
They have their new Simple 6 menu, 6 of Subway's best subs and chips and a drink for just $6, making it easy for fans to get great value on the go. And you're a mainstay on the Subway commercials.
I love Subway, man. I think the most important thing about working with Subway is the people. I've had a lot of other companies that I work with, and what sets Subway apart is obviously it's a great product, but getting the opportunity to work with the people. And I've been there for almost 6 years now. That's what sets them apart, man. I love working with Subway, and it works for me. It's a very important part of, my training and the things that I do. And, the reason why it's a good fit for me is because they didn't have to pay me to eat their product. I've been eating Subway since. You've been in La Fortune.
Oh yeah.
That's Subway in Notre Dame, La Fortune.
Right. You're right.
I was always there. They basically gave me, no offense, but they gave me my first Subway card. Mickey Marotti, shout out to Ohio State, and they just won their championship. But Mickey Marotti literally said, you got to put on weight. You got to eat a lot. So he gave me like a La Fortune card where I could go in there and eat all the time.
Oh, well, there's a violation. Really nice. Hopefully the time is over before that.
Yeah.
So here's the difference between Golick and Justin Tuck. Justin Tuck says, I love Subway for the people. Golick likes it for the sandwiches.
Oh, my God.
Let's face it. I mean, he's not really that concerned about the people under any circumstances.
The menu that says double meat, when I was making my own sandwich back there, I went to quadruple.
Well, I've seen you make your own sandwich.
Oh.
Yours is not regulated.
I kind of, Greeny goes to the veggie side, I go to the meat side,
Ain't no such thing as spinach or anything in this sandwich.
All right, Justin, who wins Sunday?
Seattle. I don't want to. I think it is going to be a close game. I think it is, and I think the difference. It's going to be something that no one is seeing. It's going to be a big special teams player or some unheralded hero. Michael Smith last year. No one saw that happening in that game. It's going to be something like that that's going to, be the difference for this football game. And I think they don't want to admit it, but I think the Patriots have a lot of distractions to deal with this week. They've been asked questions about Deflategate and all that stuff, and it does pay. It does weigh in your mind sometimes, and it does take away from your preparation a little bit.
Thank you for bringing the rings over. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing the rings, Justin.
Mike and Mike.
Here with his Subway Fresh take for just another hour of our Super Week, the one and only Mark Schlereth. How are you, Stink?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Hanging with the masses, were you, huh?
I do hang with the masses. I'm a man of the people.
Yes, you are.
That's what they say.
And a delightful one as well, and obviously one who has been down this road having won 3 Super Bowls during your 12-year playing career. So we certainly want to get into that as we go by. Just the first thing, so you're a veteran of Media Day, and I've been really interested to ask you about this, because there's so much talk about Marshawn Lynch, and he doesn't want to talk, and do they make him talk, and he's going to get fined and all of this. Now, my recollection is that when you were a member of a great Denver Broncos offensive line, and your legendary offensive line coach Alex Gibbs is here with you today, that you guys didn't talk to the media. You had like your own little kangaroo court. I mean, you've joked around about this with me, and that if any of you ever got quoted or said anything to a reporter, you would fine each other or yourselves.
Right.
So what did you do Media Day? How did that work? Did you get fined by the league? How did that work?
No. I sound like the ultimate hypocrite because I said it's just not professional not to go there and talk. That Media Day has become such a circus anyhow, right? I mean, there's 5,500 credentialed people there that ask you all kinds of ridiculous questions, and it's not
some
really
are there on their own agenda,
right?
Yeah.
It's not really about getting to know players anymore. It's kind of an antiquated system, but I get it. It's not like there was a bunch of offensive linemen up on the podiums anyhow, right? We never took a shot of any of those guys, right? We take a shot of the quote unquote stars that touch the football that really don't do much. But
he hates quarterbacks.
During the course of the game, they really don't do a whole lot. But anyhow, I think the difference here is what you have to understand is that we had the game and we were never quoted. Now I talk to the media every day. I talked to Adam Schefter every day. Those guys were all my buddies, the guys that covered us. But it was just the game that you can't be quoted. So sometimes they would use you as a source, but it was never a quotable deal. And then, of course, when we got to the Super Bowl, we lifted the restrictions. We sung like canaries.
No one's going to get fined. Do you think any of these guys and their wives are going to let them get fined?
But I don't know, but I do remember that you didn't talk.
Right, yeah. During the course of the season, it was a game, but during the...
And let me just quickly say, I felt that when I started working here and I went and covered games. I did for Sunday.
We see them in the locker room.
We see them in the locker room, and they were great. They'd say, Mike, listen, love you. We can't talk. We can't talk to you on camera. We can talk to you about things, but he said exactly that. We can't be quoted, or it's going to cost us, money amongst the O-line. That's fine with that.
And so one of the things, like Alex Gibbs would literally, because we go, I'll never forget, we went up to New England to play the Patriots, and Tommy Nalen, our center, is from Foxborough, right? So he snuck off into a corner to do an interview with the Foxborough paper. I mean, it's got to be, it's about this thick, right?
Foxborough.
Whatever it is, right? The Foxborough Sentinel or whatever. So Alex gets somebody he knows and has them send a paper back to Denver, and he comes in. I mean, he's proud, like he's like a proud father. It's like he's carrying the baby in. Like, this is the and he goes, look what I found here, the Foxborough Sentinel. And every quote that Tommy was quoted in was whatever the number was. Fine, we ring him up. Yeah, I mean, he had it taped up or whatever. It was the whole thing was ridiculous, but it was fun. But when we got to the Super Bowl, man, we sung like canaries. Yeah. And the thing about playing offensive line is, you know, it was the whole kind of we want to talk to you guys, and you won't ever let us quote you. And then when we would allow you to quote us, then nobody really wanted to talk to us. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, great, I got to go talk to a quarterback or whatever, right? So it wasn't like we did a whole lot of talking then either, because nobody really wanted to talk to us.
Mike and Mark Schlereth again won a Super Bowl in Washington and 2 of them in Denver. So you know about winning back-to-back championships, which is what the Seahawks have a chance to do here. It's an extraordinarily rare occasion throughout the history of pro football and certainly in the Super Bowl era. And I heard someone say to me, I asked a question earlier this week, and God, so many guests, I've forgotten who it was that said it, but I said, what happened to the Seahawks from when they were 3-3 or when they were 6-4 to where they are now? And the comment that was made back to me was, the beginning of the season, they went through a lot of stuff that is the reason most teams don't repeat. A lot of that kind of stuff, and then they worked it out. So you're one of the few people who knows that. What is that stuff? And then how did they get it worked out?
Well, they went through the whole Percy Harvin thing, right? There is some controversy within the locker room. They decide to get rid of a player. And one thing about an NFL locker room, you have to understand, it's so compartmentalized because you don't really see guys. I mean, I could go through any team photo of the 12 years that I played, and there'd be half a dozen guys I couldn't even tell you who they are, right? I mean, you just look at it and say, I don't know. I don't know who that guy is. I don't remember that guy, right? And it's because, you know, the DBs are over here in this part of the field, and you're over here in this part of the field, and they meet over here, and you meet over here, and you rarely cross paths. As small as the locker room is, you really don't interact with some of the guys on your team. And so part of the issue is there will be guys in Percy Harvin's camp, right, that are very upset about that release, and there'll be guys over here that say, good riddance, I couldn't wait to get rid of him. And then there's guys in between that don't really interact with that guy. So there's dynamics in that locker room that have to kind of find their way and kind of sift their way through. And then, of course, you're losing incredible talent, and now we've got to implement other guys into the game plan, and they have to change. You know, they were a jet sweep team, and it was how do we get this guy touches? Do we run him in the backfield? And now all of a sudden that part of your offense that you've been working on all through camp is gone. And now we got to rework what we're doing and try to figure that out. And I think that's, you know, there's so many different things that go into the reason it's hard to repeat. I will tell you one of the reasons that we repeated is because I think really ultimately the loss in the 96 season, 97 playoffs to Jacksonville, that loss stung worse. It was harder to deal with that loss, and it was something that we talked about. There wasn't a day that went by that we didn't talk about it. That loss stung more than the joy we felt from winning Super Bowl 32. It was more of a motivator than the win. And so it was something that even in the 98 season, when we went 13-0 to start the season and we repeated as champions, that loss was more of a seminal event and more of a catalytic event in our football team's life than the win in the Super Bowl was, that, you know, for us. So it was more of a motivator.
So that's the repeat side of it. Then there's the distraction side of it, something the Patriots went through last week with the whole deflate thing, and you know, Bill Belichick tried to end that on the Saturday before coming here with his presser, but still it hangs. So from a distraction standpoint, when people say, oh, well, there's a distraction, that's going to have an effect on the game. You buy into that, looking at this situation of where the Patriots are now, that would have some effect?
No, I mean, I don't, you know, it can be a galvanizing effect, you know, you can be us against the world effect, you know, and you know, we're just big dumb animals. I mean, that stuff is real, you know, when you put that in your mind, that stuff is real, and so there is that aspect where it can really help unite you as a football team more than divide you or more than be a distraction. It can be that one thing that hangs up there that says, you know what, nobody believes in us. Everybody thinks we're liars. Everybody thinks we're cheaters. Let's go out and stomp these guys and just put it to bed. So that's part of kind of the way you think, the locker room mentality.
Mark Schlereth is here, of course, made his living on the offensive line. So let's get to that. What I've heard from most people who say that they think the Patriots are going to win is they believe, excuse me, Sneeze right.
You all right?
Yeah, there you go.
I'll be okay.
Yeah, all right.
I need a little of this orange juice you brought me here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A little shot of vitamin C. That they believe that the way New England wins this game and the way they attack this great Seattle defense is by spreading them out and then running it right up the middle with LeGarrette Blount. Do you agree with that? Is that their best offensive strategy?
Well, I think that's something they have to be able to do, and you've got to be able to stay in Seattle. You got to be able to stay in front of the chains because they do have that very much like the New York Giants with the NASCAR package where they ran out 4 defensive ends. They have the ability to do that to you, and if you're down in long yardage situations, especially with that secondary, you're going to buy some time for those defensive linemen, and that's been a weakness of the New England Patriots, and that defensive line is outstanding. So LeGarrette Blount is big. The other thing I would want to test, and this, it's not me. This comes from my old offensive line coach, Alex Gibbs. I want to test those guys who are injured in that secondary. So I want to put a bean. I want to put a helmet on Thomas. I want to put a helmet on Richard Sherman just to see how they operate from those injuries. Are you going to tackle? Are you going to put your nose in there? Are you going to be the same aggressive player that you've always been? So that's part of the strategy that I think you have to attack. And the one place I've talked to a bunch of defensive coordinators, a bunch of offensive guys that have played the Seattle Seahawks, and they basically have all said the same thing. They're a great defense, sideline to sideline. They're as fast as any defense, maybe the fastest defense they've played against. I had one defensive coordinator tell me from the time the ball is released from the quarterback's hand to the junction point of the catch and the tackle, never seen a faster defense, ever. Sideline to sideline, if you think you're running wide zone on these guys, you're crazy because they are so fast laterally, they will get you. The one place people have talked to me about is attacking in the middle. They've lost some players in the middle. They're not the most stout. They're fast. They're incredible penetrators, but they're not the stoutest group, and you have to attack them actually in the A-gaps between the guards is where most people say that's where we want to really get this team.
The one thing, though, as far as they don't have bulldozing O-linemen in New England either. It doesn't mean you can't have success, or you don't have to have that, but as far as, getting that mammoth guy on the defender and engulfing him, the New England O-line isn't that, though.
No, but they do run. I mean, the thing about New England that's interesting is I've always played on teams that kind of we are who we are. We're gonna run in Washington. We're gonna run counter, and we're gonna run it until we're blue in the face. We're gonna run zone in Denver. This is what we do. We'll put some window dressing on it. We'll throw some motion on it. We'll change formations and personnel. But this is what we're gonna run. Can you defend it? And New England is just not that way. New England runs a little bit of everything, and so there's ways to attack people. You can angle and power. You can power with a guard. You can power with a fullback. You can come down with a tight end in motion and wham block. You can create some trap things in the middle, quick hit and play. So they are one of those teams that it's not so much about what they do, it's about what you don't do and how can we attack that. What do you not do well, and how are we going to expose that as a unit, both offensively and defensively? It's one of the things that have made them so successful and made them so hard to play. I've been on the sideline. I have literally been on the sideline when you practiced all week, and they come out and play something completely different, and you just scrap pile what you're doing, and then you get on the sideline, and Alex Gibbs yells at you and cusses at you that you're dumb. For a smart guy, you sure are dumb. That's what he says to you. And then, and then we draw things up in the sand, and you go out there and you try to implement them.
Well, others we've talked here said the same thing. Said, we're practicing against a 3-4. They come out, all they do is play 4-3. And it's anything you've worked on. That's one of the advantages for them is you prepare for them, and then they come out, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, what's that? We haven't seen that, especially when they start throwing the formations at you, which at this point you better be ready for.
But can I throw the counter to that? And this is why I like Seattle in the game, and this is why I liked them last year against Peyton. What does Peyton Manning do? He finds your weakness. He figures out what you're going to do, and he attacks you. Seattle didn't do anything. Seattle, this is what we're going to do. Now just beat us. And so Brady and Belichick, they can come up with whatever they want. We're going to fool you with. You can't fool Seattle because they're not changing what they do anyway. And what they do, I think, at this point is it's the opposite of bludgeoning or whatever. They run you to death.
It's not about fooling. It's not about fooling. It's about, are you in doing the different things that we do, where Denver, you knew what they were going to do. When Seattle stopped that, well, we saw the final score. Okay, but New England, they can morph into something different. And it's about if they're successful in something, now Seattle, because Seattle doesn't. But make them have to say, okay, we got to adjust a little bit here, because we're getting beat in this aspect of the game. That's something the Patriots Patriots, I think, do very well.
But has anyone done that to Seattle's defense? Has there been a game in the last 2 years where someone made Seattle's defense do something they don't want to do?
The defense struggled early this year. I don't know if it was because maybe just flat out being out executed. They didn't have Bobby Wagner for a while. That hurt him.
In their 4 losses, I think they gave up about 140 yards rushing in each of those losses. And it really comes down to you've got to make, in my mind, you've got to make everybody on that defense participate. You've got to make those. They just can't be running up and making tackling practice on wide receivers, Cam Chancellor, hitting, and knocking people out across the middle. You've got to make that guy get involved. And I want to put heavy guys on him. I want to put offensive linemen. I want to exchange with a fullback picking up a defensive end and one of my tackles going up and just you talked about bludgeoning Cam Chancellor. And those are the things that you have to do. The teams that have done that successfully, I thought the Green Bay Packers did a very good job of running out of there. They've got basically a nickel formation where they run fullback and tailback. Not a lot of people can run it because a lot of people don't carry a fullback anymore. But they did a 3 wides, so a 20 personnel, 2 backs, no tight ends, wide receivers, and they did a great job of running out of those nickel formations, get them, and they're a lighter, faster defense, so you can wear them down a bit. And the teams that did that consistently and stuck to it are the 4 teams that beat the Seattle Seahawks this year.
Mike and Mike, Mark Schlereth is here. He's here for the hour. We'll continue talking about the Super Bowl coming up in 60 seconds. We'll ask him if he had to make the toughest decision of his life, what would he have chosen? Because one player in this game might have to. We'll do that after this word from YP.com. Mike, you know online marketing is critical to growing your business, but where do you start? Like basketball is more than 5 guys getting a ball through a hoop, online marketing is more than just building a website. Getting found online is complex, it's challenging, it's always changing. You need YP.
And you know who they are, because over 100 years ago they started as the Yellow Pages. They're the largest marketing agency for local businesses in America, with over 80 million potential customers searching YP.com and the YP app each month. YP can help you with marketing services from web design to search engines and search marketing, and they're giving you a free business scan, the essential first step to being found online. YP is going to measure your company's online health from the accuracy of your business information, how hard it is for customers to find you across online directories and search sites like Google, YP, Yahoo, and dozens more. Potential customers are searching for you every single day, but can they find you? That's where YP can help. To start your free business scan, visit myfreeyp.com, myfreeyp.com. That's myfreeyp.com.
We are Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Our buddy Mark Schlereth is here. Sedano and Stink, weeknights on ESPN Radio, of course, and you see him all over the place on TV. His Subway Fresh Take. I'm looking, Biz sent me the 4 games they lost this year. They lost at San Diego. They lost at home to Dallas. They lost at Seattle. They lost at Kansas City. Those are the 4 losses that Seattle had this year. And I'm looking at the rushing yards per rush. So, Kansas City ran the ball for 6 yards a clip. St. Louis, 4 yards a clip. Dallas, 4.5. So they ran the ball. You're right. They when they lost, they got run on a little bit. Now, it's been an awful long time since any of those games were played.
Yeah, they finished up the season pretty well.
Yeah, they finished up in dominating fashion. So we'll see. It's a classic matchup of strength against strength, and we'll see what winds up happening on Sunday. Stink, one story that we brought up earlier this morning that I had been completely unaware of until yesterday when it was in our notes is that Richard Sherman's girlfriend, pardon me, I'll pull up the story here, is pregnant and is due any day, one of these sort of any minute kind of situations. His girlfriend is named Ashley Moss. She's expected to give birth to their son in the next week. He said yesterday a recent visit to the doctor gives him faith that his son will not arrive in the next few days. But just in case, his girlfriend is here in Arizona. If she goes into labor before Sunday, the plan is to have her give birth at a local hospital. No problem there. But if his son decides it's time to enter the world on Sunday, Sherman may be faced, as it says, with a career-defining decision. His quote, "We'll cross that bridge when we get there." Now, as I said, and we talked about this earlier, I have no parallel professional experience. There is no Super Bowl in anything that I do. So I can't imagine any set of circumstances in my life professionally where I would miss the birth of a child. But again, I don't have a Super Bowl that I might be playing in. You played in 3. You're also a father of 3. Anyone who knows Stink knows how extraordinarily committed you are to your kids and to your new granddaughter. So, with that as the backdrop, if you had faced that situation, do you know what you would have done?
Yeah, I'd have played.
What would Lisa have said?
Lisa? I don't know.
That'd be your wife?
That's his wife.
That'd be your wife, the one who's giving birth to your child?
I was there for the other ones, you know?
What if it's the first one?
No, I would play. I mean, that's what I get paid to do. That's my job, and this is the biggest game, you know, of my life. I've got 53 or 52 other guys that depend on me to be there and to do my job, and my wife understands that. I mean, she understands what she got into when she married me, and well, she understood some of what she got.
I get it.
No, but I don't think there's. I mean, that's for me. That would be a non-decision. I would play. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with the kids. You know, so I always, you know, here's the deal, Mike. I mean, I know that's a gigantic event. I know it's a hard decision. I'm not saying my decision would be the right decision.
No, there is no right or wrong.
Right. But, you know, one of the things I always get asked, you go around, speak around the country, and people say, you know, what do you do to spend quality time with your kids? And my answer to that was always, anytime I set an hour aside to spend some quality time with my kids, they do something to just make me angry. Right? Yeah. Almost. But they do something to really get my goat. So the key for me was quantity time. I was just always involved. I was always there. And in that, there's going to be some slivers of quality in that quantity time. So my thought process is, listen, man, I'm a committed father. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with those kids. I only get to play in a Super Bowl one time, and so I'm playing three. But I know what you mean. Yeah, but I'm playing in the game because that's what I signed up to do, and that's what I'm committed to do. And I'm committed to be a great father, but I'll have, you know, the people there to be with my wife when she gives birth.
I do think a high percentage of players would play, and as I said, Chris had, because our first son, child Mike, was born at the end of September.
It was a great moment.
Yeah, was born at the end of September, and Chris had said, go play. You know, and this wasn't the Super Bowl. This was a regular season. Said, I'll take care of this. You did your part. Right. I'll do the rest. You know, and I'm glad I didn't have that decision. I believe I would have played, but I was never in it, so I can't say for sure. But I do believe I would have played, and I believe I would play in the Super Bowl as well. I'm 99.9% sure I would play. Let me ask you this. Can I ask Herm? Herm said he would play. Justin Tuck said he would play. He was on earlier. Said Tim Brown in the Super Bowl. His wife had a baby the next day, but said if it was on Super Bowl Sunday, he would have played. Mm-hmm. What would you think if you're getting ready to play in that game and one of your teammates, his wife or his significant other, is having a baby and was going to leave and not play in the Super Bowl? Would that make you think differently of them?
No, I don't think so. I mean, every guy's got to make his own decision, and there's always circumstances, you know, involved in every decision. And so I don't think it would bother me. Everybody's got their, you know, like everybody's got their own thing that they have to do, and that I don't really think that I would sit there and say judge a guy or be upset with a guy or whatever. I would just expect him to play.
No, but I understand what you're saying. You would expect him to play.
You know what? There's no way you could. I couldn't feel good judging someone for that. I mean, well, would you be bummed they wouldn't be there, you know, to help the team? Yeah, but I couldn't sit there and say
I think most teams would carry that as more of a rallying cry, like, you know what, he can't be here. You know, I mean,
Stink, would your perspective have changed if it was a regular season game?
No, I still would play. I think I would have to.
You know, I mean, history is filled with a lot of these kinds of instances, and you know, I know it's a totally different circumstance because it's an individual sport. Phil Mickelson, you know, wearing the pager when his wife Tracy is ready to go any minute, and the final round of the U.S. Open, and he said if he's walking up 18 with the lead, he would have walked off if his pager had gone off.
It would have been interesting if that really happened. If he really, I mean, in all seriousness, listen, I'm not going to sit here and call Phil Mickelson a liar. That's what he said.
Hey, can I play through?
But you know, in all seriousness, if he's on the last hole and looking to play, and that pager goes off, is it like, oh, maybe that's someone else? You know, you click it off and you play the last hole. You know, who knows?
It's a legendary day in golf because it's the final round of the U.S. Open, so it's Father's Day as it is. That was the day Payne Stewart beat him by one shot with that legendary shot and died, or legendary putt. Dies a few months later. And the baby was born the following day. So everything worked out well for everyone, I suppose, on some level. Okay, Mike and Mike, Mark Schlereth is here. We'll do true false in just a moment. Arian Foster running a little late. We'll get him up here. It'll be interesting to talk to Arian Foster because remember at the beginning of the season, he was the guy who wasn't answering questions. He was doing this sort of one word or one phrase answer to stuff, and so we'll get his thoughts. He's a thoughtful guy, and I'm looking forward to that. And so Marshawn Lynch, a big topic of conversation. Mark Schlereth is here. I want to do sort of a different version of True False. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And I'll just make a bunch of statements, and you guys will tell me if they're true or they're false, but we'll do it without the music and without the sound effects, and we'll just sort of get a little more into this, because these, to me, are the biggest questions or the biggest topics surrounding Super Bowl 49. Okay. Mike, I'll start with you. True or false, the Patriots have to run the ball for at least 100 yards to win Super Bowl 49?
Well, I mean, conventional wisdom says true, but I'll say false, because the Patriots are one of the best morphing teams I've ever seen. Would I be shocked if they came out in the first 20 plays, they threw the ball, and they made it a short passing game throughout? So because it's the Patriots and because I've seen them win plenty of ways, I'll say false.
I'm going to say false as well. Now, I think the biggest thing is, people always talk about the importance of third down, and third down is incredibly important, but first down is the down. You have to keep yourself ahead of schedule. You have to keep yourself in front of the chains. You cannot be against Seattle third down and 7+, because that's a recipe for disaster. So if you're going to throw it the first couple of downs and get yourself in third down and short and convert on third down and short and have these kind of grinding out, smash mouth, bring a tool belt, briar patch runs, then I'm good with that. You're okay with that. You come away with 70 yards, but they're third down hard charging yards. I don't mind that. You can still win that way. And Golick is right. That's exactly how New England look at the second half of the Baltimore game. They didn't throw the ball once. Right. They do what they have to do and what they think the most favorable match.
Now, but we just went through all these numbers and said the 4 teams that beat Seattle did it this year by running the football against them. It's a totally different style of defense than Baltimore. You throw the ball on Baltimore because their weakness is their secondary. Seattle may have the best secondary in the history of the sport. Right. So it would stand to reason to me, if New England is going to have success, it's going to have to be running the football.
That's why when you say stand to reason, with almost every team but the Patriots, you can go a different way.
I think you're 100% right. It does stand to reason. I just know, watching them and breaking them down all year, I think they need to run. There's no question. But I'm saying they don't have to run. That's not going to be. That to me is not going to be the ultimate determining factor.
All right, let me get to my next one here. Stink, true or false? The Deflategate scandal will have zero impact on the outcome of Super Bowl 49.
That's true. I just don't. I think, number one, I had on my show last night John Brankus, the sports science guy, who basically gave the science behind that it's essentially, if 2 pounds of pressure means almost nothing. Like, it would be the most colossal mistake to use that to cheat, because it gives you no advantage, no decided advantage. I mean, it was incredible when he went through all the science behind it. And I don't, I'm not the science guy, right?
Right, you're not Bill Nye.
No, I'm not Bill Nye. So, but I just don't think it really has an impact. What's going to happen is you're going to kick off, and whoever executes and plays best is the one that's going to win this game.
When the team landed, Robert Kraft spoke. I thought what he said was exactly right. He said, outside of basically Tom Brady and really Bill Belichick, everybody else could care less about it. I think he used the word hogwash, because he's right. Any of those D linemen, linebackers, DBs, do they care about that? It doesn't affect them. They're working out. They're going to their meetings. They're going to their practice. They're not getting involved in this at all. So for 99% of the team, it doesn't have any effect. They're going about their business.
Mike and Stink, let's fly through a few more of these. Okay. Mike, if you had to bet an amount of money that mattered on one player right now to be the MVP of this game, that player would be?
Well, since I'm leaning to Seattle, I'll say Marshawn Lynch. I think it all starts with him. The mesh point with him, I think, helps Russell Wilson, and it goes from there. Not demeaning what Wilson does. That's what everybody always thinks when you say that. But Marshawn Lynch is such a key component to this game that I would say that's the guy I'd bet on.
I'm going to go the opposite running back. I'm going to go LeGarrette Blount. Mm-hmm. And I'm with you, even though I said it was false. They don't have to run. I believe they will. I believe that's where they feel that they can expose Seattle a little bit. And I think LeGarrette Blount has just been phenomenal, especially here through the playoffs.
Wouldn't that be something?
I'm going to go LeGarrette Blount.
Considered his year with Pittsburgh, right, and how that was going and how it ended and where he is now.
Stink, true or false? The Patriots will have a plan that significantly slows down the Seattle read option.
I'm going to say true. I mean, it's the truth. You know, what you have to understand with the read option stuff is they're a zone stretch team. That's what they run. The read option stuff, you think because Russell Wilson always comes out with I don't know how many yards a game, he rushes for, but the majority of it is scrambling. The majority of the yards rushing is scrambling from a pass. Last week he ran 2 read options. One down to the goal line, and I broke them down for the last 7 weeks, and I was shocked at how little designed run Seattle actually has done in the last 7 weeks. It's all off the scramble stuff. He's getting 2 or 3 designed runs a game, and it's always critical situations. Rolling into the red zone for a first down, coming off the end line, coming out of your own end zone for a first down, on the goal line, bam, read option on 3rd down, touchdown. That's when they run it. They really run 2 or 3 times designed runs a game, so I think they will have a plan.
Greeny, the answer to this is true because every opponent that plays them has a plan for it. Everybody plans it. The bottom line is...
No, but the entirety of the sentence is, we'll have a plan that will significantly slow down the read option.
The plan is there. Will it work? Well, I'll let you know.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Well, I'll let you know if the outside backer or D-end is disciplined enough to not chase down the line and not give Russell Wilson the freedom.
But you're answering my question with a question. What I'm asking you is, will New England be that disciplined? Will they stop the read option?
Well, that's a different question. Your question was quite honestly, your question was dumb. That one you just asked was a lot better. Will they stop the read option?
Will it significantly slow down the Seattle read option?
Their plan, and as I said, everybody has a plan to go in there.
And will it work?
Well,
everybody's got a plan until you punch
in the face. I don't think they'll have a plan, but I think you become a little undisciplined, and then you get scorched.
All right, and then the final one, and this is, of course, the most important one. True or false? Mark Schlereth is handsomer than Howie Long or Dan Marino. Wow. We got into a lengthy debate about this yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Dan Marino and Howie Long have been here this week. Yeah. It was my contention that Dan Marino is handsomer than Howie Long. Golick chose Howie Long.
Howie Long, yeah, exactly.
Howie Long, very handsome, not my type. Dan Marino, to me, handsomer. And we had many people immediately sending us notes and saying, guys, do you realize Stink is handsomer than either of them?
First one said, neither. I'm in the Mark Schlereth camp.
So, Stink, true or false? You are handsomer than Howie Long and Dan Marino.
Well, you guys have a lot of smart fans.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's true. But I will say this. I'm going to go in the Howie Long camp with you because anytime I lined up against Howie Long, and you would get that, Howie Long was an imposing figure.
Back then you got fat D lineman. This dude was like an Adonis in his outfit.
Yeah, you're right. Dan Marino wasn't much of a player, but go ahead. Sorry.
But the thing about him, we're talking about looks.
Yeah,
and he looked great in the uniform. Dan Marino, not so much. But he got a big bulky knee brace. But the thing about him, he'd get in the stance, and you get in the stance right across from him, and so you'd be down there and you'd look at him. And he had the best choppers, man. His teeth were amazing.
Because as you mentioned, none of us wore mouthpieces. So you could
he'd smile. He'd smile at you, and I would get lost in his teeth. I would just be like, those are beautiful teeth, man. I'd be in a stance about ready to go. And I'd be like, this guy's got the greatest teeth I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think that's how he was so good. That's probably, he rode his teeth right to the Hall of Fame.
So you would be Camp Howie Long.
Camp Howie Long.
I'm Team Dan. We can try and get that thing going at some point later.
Team Dan.
Mike and Mike.
Mark Schlereth is here, and it's our pleasure to welcome in to our set here in Scottsdale from the Houston Texans. Longtime terrific running back Arian Foster is here. How are you, Arian?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing well. It's a pleasure to meet you in person. The first thought I want to get from you quickly is you're famously a guy who was an undrafted free agent, came into the NFL, had enormous success. So when you see a guy like Russell Wilson, who was a third-round pick, a guy like Tom Brady, who was a sixth-round pick, and here they are, the quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, it really does demonstrate what an inexact science all of this scouting and everything is.
Definitely inexact. Sometimes they get it wrong. They got a lot of good people up there in the upstairs, scouting department. They work hard at the jobs, but sometimes people slip through the cracks. And I would love to have been drafted in the third round. But
well, you look at a lot of Seattle players. You have Earl Thomas, who's a first rounder, but a lot of these other guys, fourth and fifth rounders, that are now getting paid because of what they're doing. There's been a lot of talk on Marshawn Lynch off the field, but quickly on the field, running backs watch other running backs, I'm sure. When you watch him, to you, from a running back's eye that you have, to you, what makes him so good?
In my opinion, he's one of the best running backs in this league's history, just because he's one of those running backs who he reminds you of like the old style running backs like Earl Campbell and like Larry Zonka and those type of guys who just it's pure will and determination, and that style is very attractive to anybody watching.
What about LeGarrette Blount? I mean, what an unbelievable ride he's been on this year, from the Pittsburgh Steelers to being released to going back out to New England, and now lead the charge there. When you watch him, what do you think about LeGarrette Blount's game?
I love his game too. He's got not the same kind of the same style, but just that the power back. He's one of those power backs, and I enjoy running backs getting any kind of notoriety, and because for like 2 or 3 years, like, it's a passing league, and you go to the playoffs, everybody's running the ball and playing good defense. Like, that's always been a recipe, especially in late season football and in the postseason. So I love LeGarrette Blount's game. He's a big reason why the Patriots made their push to the AFC Championship last year. So
you didn't play either of these teams this year. You did face Seattle a year ago, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. But what specifically, when you're actually on the field against them, what is so noteworthy about their defense? What makes them so good?
They swarm. They play together well. They know each other well, and their confidence level is just very high. They just mesh well together, and that's the difference between good teams and great teams, is the camaraderie. And I think that's why you always see coaches trying to get people to hang out off the field and really play together, because once you get on that same page, it's scary.
Now, you're one of the guys whose career I have enjoyed, because you seem to be an independent thinker. You've gone in a different direction than many. I remember one time you tweeted like an X-ray.
It was an MRI.
And then this preseason, and it specifically ties to the Super Bowl, you did an entire media session just repeating the phrase, "I'm just trying to be the best teammate I can be." So quickly, what was the thinking behind that? And then as you see what's going on with Marshawn Lynch now, what do you think about it?
There's no disrespect to people in the media, but sometimes we just don't feel like talking. And that gets taken out of context as you're arrogant or this or that or the other, and all these other kind of agendas get attached to it. But sometimes I just don't feel like talking. As a human being, it's after practice, or like Marshawn, he might be socially, that's not a comfortable place for him, so he doesn't want to talk. So I don't understand why they make you talk, but there's not much more to it than that.
As I said many times, I agree. I think that if it's a rule, then I can't sit here and say, okay, go ahead and break the rule, but they should change the rule.
I quickly play devil advocate. What's the rule change? You only talk when you want? So what if you come to the Super Bowl, and because Tom Brady was involved in the Deflategate, here's the quarterback of a team that's saying, I don't want to talk, I'm not going to talk. That's not good for the league either, is it?
Well, I mean, look what happened when he didn't talk. We're talking about it. I think he's done. We've almost made him a martyr because he doesn't want to talk to the media. And it's if you're not always in the media, if you're not always talking, then you kind of develop a little prestige. And I think that's kind of a good thing for his brand and as well as the league. I mean, you got guys who love to go to the media and love to talk. I don't have a problem with it. I'll do it, whenever. But for some guys, it's just not their thing. I remember when Ricky Williams had the helmet on.
Right.
Some people, this is not their thing. And I think the league should take note of that and at least have a little bit of respect for that.
Yeah, I think that's good, but I think you can also do it. You can also do it in a more professional manner if that's what you choose to do. So, but I understand the league's perspective and I understand players' perspective, because we've all been there where you don't feel like discussing things. So I understand both sides.
I want a beast mode hat. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I know. $33.
And speaking of clothing lines, you are here promoting yours or your wife's clothing line, and as the fastest way to our heart is to come bearing gifts, and you seem to have done that.
I do come bearing gifts. So my wife started a clothing line, and it's mostly for women, and she noticed that there's a market out there.
Oh, so it's perfect for you, Mike.
I should look nice in
it. She noticed that there's a market out there for fashionable clothing for sports apparel, and specifically to the NFL. It's not very fashionable, and also she wants to create football literacy amongst women, because women is a big target and a big demographic for the NFL. So she did designed a lot of these clothes, and so this is the Cleveland Brown one.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Oh, that's nice. That little dog pound down it. Kovu is the name for those on the radio.
.com. You can get it's the Eagles one.
That.
So she's extremely creative.
I get it there. You made the V out of the eagle.
Hey, nothing gets past you.
I get it. You didn't get that.
I didn't get it.
There you go. See, so it's KovuClothing.com. You can go. Women can go shop.
Nice.
They have all 32 teams.
Very cool.
COVU is the spelling. Arian, who do you like in the game Sunday?
I don't like either one of them, but if I gotta pick, I feel like New England is gonna pull it out. I'm not like I don't care, like, but I like.
You're not an AFC guy and all that. Not into that.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You guys don't feel awfully far away to me. I mean, your team close. Figure out a little something at quarterback. We're going to run out of time here, and Ryan Mallett, maybe that's the answer going forward, but we'll have to wait and see. Best of luck with this. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, man.
Arian Foster for the Houston Texans.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Our next guest may be the single biggest South Carolina fan in the world. He puts
I have no thoughts about South Carolina.
After that last
Notre Dame, though?
After that bowl game, I'm pretty
Yeah, that was a replay showed a few times.
Here he is, the man who puts the game in Gamecock, our dear friend Darius Rucker, Grammy Award-winning musician, and just all-around fabulous guy. It's great to see you, Darius. How are you?
I'm great.
Now, see, Golick always says, when we're promoting your appearances, he said, Golick says, my friend and Greeny's acquaintance, Darius Rucker. And I take offense to that. I feel that we have now grown beyond that level.
Absolutely. Golick's my brother. You're my friend.
Okay. I'm happy with that.
What am I?
You're my new boy, man. You're my boy.
There we go. I'll take that.
What are your thoughts? Darius is here. He's going to play. You're playing a concert like after the golf today? Is that my understanding?
Tonight, I'm playing right on 18 at the golf tournament.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be really cool. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Let me just say, tomorrow, get ready to do a lot of talking. I'm going to be at the concert. And normally I go to Darius's concert. It's interesting. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Should be a lot of fun. No question about it. Darius has a new CD coming out in March called Southern Style, so everyone certainly can look forward to that. And we're sitting here talking about the game. And Charles, let me go to you on this because it is two of the guys who are considered, and you've been at playing the position as well as anybody practically ever for a long time. You have Richard Sherman in this game and Darrelle Revis in this game. And there'll be a great debate now amongst their fans who's the best corner in the game.
Yeah.
Do you side with one or the other right now as far as being the best corner?
Well, for me, I think it's it depends on what you want. With Darrelle Revis, if you want a trained assassin, somebody that goes in and takes care of one particular guy and takes him out, then you want Darrelle Revis. If you want a guy that is perfect for your scheme and what you do, is not going to make mistakes and is going to do what you ask him to do within that scheme, then that's Richard Sherman. And both of those guys do it at a high level. Now, if you're asking me who I think is the best corner, pure corner of the game, to me, is Darrelle Revis.
Yeah, that's what, of the four corners in this game. I mean, you tell me I had them. And again, whenever you do this, it's when you say one is ranked here and the next here, they think, oh, you think this guy is bad. I go Revis, Sherman, Browner, and Maxwell. That would be how I would put the four. And again, all very good, great. So I don't want to be slighting anyone. That would be my order of four.
And that's the thing. You don't want to slight any of these guys because they're all great corners.
Yeah.
But when I look at the cornerback position and I look at Darrelle Revis, he has to cover the whole route tree that he covers, and he does it at the highest level. When you look at Sherman, he's in their scheme, for the most part, it's cover three or whatever it is they play. He has to take care of the deep route. Right. It's not taking care of the whole route tree like a Darrelle Revis has to do. So for me, the best corner in the game, a guy that has to do it all. Right. Going on the right side, going on the left side, in the slot, wherever you got to go. Darrelle Revis does it all.
Another guy who does it all, of course, is Darius Rucker. And Darius, we know you to be a great fan of sports and particularly a great fan of football. What excites you the most about this particular Super Bowl matchup?
Oh, seeing what Tom Brady's going to do against that defense. I mean, I've been watching football since I was 5. I've seen some great defense. Nobody ever, by the way, you never mentioned the no-name defense, which always makes me mad. But
no, you're right. The Dolphins of the 70s.
Exactly. There's some great defenses. But this one, watching it over the last 2 years, they're so dominant. But then you always know that Belichick and Brady are going to come up with something that they haven't seen. And I want to see if that's going to be enough to, go and get enough points to win the game.
So when the matchup, because we were just talking before, and you said, I can't figure out yet who I want to go with. When the matchup first came to be, when we saw Green Bay, in shock and horror of what happened, and it was Seattle going, and then we saw what New England did. What was your initial thought of the game, right out of the gate?
My initial thought was definitely New England. I thought New England just because, you've been watching all the playoff games, and every game with Seattle's close, and they should have lost to Green Bay, and New England's here blowing everybody out. And so I thought New England, but then when I started thinking about it, I still don't know. And I'm playing New England's party. So I put that up.
Do you wait to decide what songs you're going to sing based on what happens?
Absolutely. We're going to wait to see what happens with that.
Well, let's be clear on what we're talking about. For those who don't know, the teams have a party set up after the game ahead of time, whether they're going to win whether they win or lose. They obviously don't know yet if they're going to win or lose. So you are going to play a concert for the Patriots and their guests and everything after the game, whether they win or lose.
Win or lose, it's me, Flo Rida, and Rick Ross. It's going to be. They let it all out.
Boy, I'll tell you what.
If they lose, is anybody going to be there?
I heard the last time they lost, the party was unbelievable.
Well,
that's why I said yeah.
Famously, Rob Gronkowski was dancing like crazy afterwards.
Well, you have one guy there.
Let me ask you both this, because this came up with Richard Sherman and his girlfriend, who was going to have a child.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Son, now, they know it's a boy.
Now, the possibility is that she has this child on Super Bowl Sunday. So, so the question was out there. We have answered it. We had Justin Tuck on earlier of the decision. Do you actually not play in the Super Bowl to be there for the birth of your child? So Justin Tuck said he would be at the Super Bowl, said Kim Brown actually his wife had a child the next day, but said he would have been at the Super Bowl. I say I would be at the Super Bowl, but there would be some guilt. Would you be at the Super Bowl? Would you play?
I think you got it. That is tough.
That is tough, isn't it?
No, that really is tough. But I think I would be at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think there's a wrong answer.
I don't think there's a wrong answer, but that is tough because that is your child.
Yeah.
So how do you choose? Do I be at the Super Bowl or do I be there for the birth of my child?
Yeah. And Darius, with you, Greeny said there's nothing really that he has that compares to the Super Bowl. You're in an industry where there's huge things that goes on in your industry. So put it either in that context or that of a Super Bowl.
Oh, the Super Bowl I play.
Yeah,
I mean, no, I'm playing. I got a plane waiting for me the second I get off the field to take me where I need to go. But it's your job, and it's just, and you don't know how many times you're going to be back here.
Right.
When you're playing, you don't know if you're ever going to get to do this again. So I think you play, and your wife understands.
But isn't that the same thing with your child, though?
Yeah. I mean, you don't know how many of those are going to
have another child.
I know.
True. That is tough.
So what's helping, I did have my oldest was born in September during the season. Now it's a regular season, and my wife said, "You be at the game." You did your part. Yeah. I'm going to do the work now, to get the baby out. You go to the game. But I wasn't sure. I'm glad I never had to make the decision, but I wasn't sure. But I think I would have played.
My wife would say play. She didn't even tell me to go play a show.
Is there a parallel? Darius, I was thinking about this earlier because I said, for me, there is no parallel experience. There's nothing that could be happening to me professionally that is so enormous. There's no Super Bowl when you're a sports talk show host. And I guess you could be playing the Super Bowl. You could be playing some enormous, I don't know. What would be the biggest thing that you could do in the musical world? What would be the biggest thing? Playing halftime at the Super Bowl.
If I was playing halftime at the Super Bowl and my wife was having a baby, she would tell me to go play halftime at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
And she'd do everything in her power to be there, too. We'll have a place set aside in the concourse to have the kid if we have to.
Your doctor right with you.
Yeah. The baby be born, you'll be on TV, right? Me, mama, like a wagon wheel.
That is a decision I'm glad I would never have to make.
I'm with you. I am. Because Richard Sherman didn't give an answer.
Right.
He said, you know what? If I have to cross that bridge,
cross that bridge when we come to it.
That's a tough. And there's no wrong answer.
There's no wrong answer.
No wrong answer.
For the record,
and no right answer either.
She is here. She did come here to Arizona so that if the baby is born in the next 3 days, no problem. It'll be there. She'll be in the hospital here. Sunday obviously becomes a very complicated decision. It's something we've talked about a lot this morning.
The best of Mike and Mike.
We are Mike and Mike, and what a terrific morning we have working for you here. We have future Hall of Famer Charles Woodson, now of the Oakland Raiders, with us. We have music superstar Darius Rucker on our set, so a lot of fun to be had. Darius, I thought of you yesterday when the great Dan Marino was seated to my right, and because anyone who knows Darius knows that you're crazy Miami Dolphins fan.
And good friends with Dan as well.
And the one thing that I could not help but notice, Dan Marino, startlingly handsome in person.
Yeah, he ain't no Tom Brady, but he's good looking.
See, I said that Charles is going up. I said that about now as you finish. You're still playing, so you don't know this yet. When you finish playing, like I ballooned up a lot and then I lost weight, and people say, "Go, like you look pretty good." And so I'm 52 years old. Howie Long sat here next to me.
Yeah.
He's about 4 years older than me.
Right.
And I felt like a scrawny, beast, ugly beast. The dude's a stud.
My wife loves Howie Long.
Oh, well then Greeny, we asked the question.
I think Dan is handsomer than Howie Long.
I said Howie Long. So your wife is in the Howie
camp. My wife would go with Howie. Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Greeny, have you still not been in a fight yet?
In my life?
In your lifetime?
No, I have not. No, I have not. I mean, not a physical fight. No.
You mean a war of words?
I've engaged in emotional warfare.
You think he's done a dance off or maybe anything? So no confrontation.
No, nothing. No.
Oh, you hit dance off. You hit that perfectly.
I was
perfectly, Charles.
I feel like perhaps I've won a debate or two. A fight? No, not so much.
Right, but no fight.
No, I have not.
I've completely lost count here.
Frankly, I don't anticipate it ever happening.
Just check.
This has been the Best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNRadio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Why do we snack? Hunger? Taste? Because we have nothing better to do? Well, people who snack on almonds not only have something better to do, they're doing it. Almonds are heart health for those with heart. Packed with energy to keep up with anyone. It's that one-of-a-kind crunch that promises to keep you in the game for a long time to come. California almonds. Crunch on.